Goody Goody Cheesecakes. We're live.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another episode of Unprinted Pages, where we talk to authors about their publishing journeys and their books and anything else we can think of to learn more about them and their careers. Today we have CB Chelia and Ligia
There
DeWitt.
you go. There you go.
Thank
Awesome.
you. It's beautiful and hard to pronounce.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for coming. I guess we'll start with CB. Can you please tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I am new to the romance genre. I have my first short out, The Wolfman of Notting Hollow, which is an monster romance, which I have so much fun writing. My second work is in beta reads, and that should be out sometime this month, and that is called the Knob Hill Summoning. I have changed the title, so I'm like, what's the title? It was the Knob. I'm pretty sure it's the Knob Hill Summoning, but yeah,
I'll figure it out when you give it to us.
and folks can get the Wolfman of Notting Hollow free at freakyromance.com. I also write horror, but we can go there, later if we want.
And Leah, will you please tell us a little bit about you?
First of all, I was laughing at the coffee zombie that grounds. So thank you for that. So my name is Ligia DeWitt, as Dr. Friday said. It's a complicated name with something, and I think that's why I love complicated names in my stories. Like the weirder, the more complicated it is. Like, yay, I love it. I am a bilingual author. I am actually from Mexico City, but I write in English, and I love English literature for a long, long time. So it was like, it's a very long story, but I ended up writing in English. And now my first book, Touch of Fate, has been published last year. And second book, Burden of Fate, will be released in actually 3 weeks. I'm very excited about it.
I am too.
And actually my genre, it's fantasy romance. But I love romance in general. I'm usually a very, very romance reader overall. But what I love is when both when it's not like just romance. I love it combined with different genres. So with a different type of plot, and when the romance is part of it, I just love it. You have me. Hello.
Yes, and you had me at pirates and fairies and romance, and you had me at werewolves and romance. So yeah, those are like all you have to say. It's like, hey, I wrote a book with these elements. Okay, I'm in. Where do I get it? But yeah. So my first question for you guys is, how did you choose the romance genres you have chose? The fantasy romance, or I guess werewolves are part of fantasy, but which direction in these that you have went?
Well, that's a very interesting question. When I first started writing, it was only romance, contemporary romance. But that's because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just happy. I had these little people in my head that were like demanding to be free. So I say, okay, okay. So I wrote these stories. And at first it was like, I don't know, I wrote several of them, but as I was writing them, at first you don't know which kind of writer you are. For some of us, and I love the romance, and then I love fantasy. And at some point, I decided, well, you know what? I want to merge those genres that I love the most. I love both, and I want to have a good dose of romance, but also with a good dose of fantasy, and have both matter, right? So
Mhm.
have them both matter. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I ended up in fantasy romance, and I love it.
What about you, CB?
I knew that I wanted to sort of expand on, like, because before I was just writing horror, and I wanted something different. I wanted, for my horror novels, they're very long. The plots can get complicated. You sort of get precious about the characters and like making all the sciency and science fiction parts work together. And I just wanted like a little freedom, like, and it's not that romance is less than, far from it, but I don't know, when you're able to approach the work with a sort of a sense of lightness, a sense of like whatever I do is okay. I think it has a very different feel, and it flows more easily. And so it started because I saw something on Book Talk, and I was like, I forget, it was like Morning Glory Milking Farm, okay, which is like this as steamy as you can possibly get, right, with minotaurs. And I'm like, wait, you can do that? Like you can do that? So I was like, all right, I'm reading that. Like I want to say, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of fun. Like I could
You
write.
should read the one with the coronavirus. There's actually a romance with the coronavirus. I swear to you, there's one. Look
There
it up in
are
Wow.
Amazon.
so when
Yes.
I started looking at it, I'm like, all right, what is like the most far out ones that like I and this is where you find where you have limits. Like, because I was like, I don't know. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is too much. We're gonna step back from not Morning Glory Milk Farm, like other ones that I'm not even gonna mention. Like I bought one right now. I don't, you know what? I don't want to say the name because I don't want to take food off of anybody's table. Like I don't leave negative reviews, or that's, as an author, like I encourage readers to be honest, but as an author, I won't leave negative reviews of another author. But I'm reading this one audiobook right now. I was listening to it on the way home from work, and I'm like, oh no, do not want that is here's another boundary that I have. But so anyway, I started like testing and finding limits. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is cool. Like I can totally do this. So like, and I was able to dive in and um working on like it's like a paranormal investigators, like a man and a woman, and that's the
Mhm.
one I'm writing with my writing partner. And it's called the SEXD files, right? So it sort of plays on a popular show from the 90s, but it's not that. um and so we call it the dessert of our writing world. Like whatever else we're working on, whether I'm working on my horror or I'm working on something else, like, or the marketing or whatever we're working on, like writing that is like the dessert. It's like, that's the fun part. So I
That
think
is
I went off
cool.
on a tangent.
And it's nice. I mean, I also like to read. I mean, depending on the mood, you read some kind of things, right? But I love humor when it's well
Mhm.
done, especially when it's dark, and you're like you don't know what's gonna happen, and then something breaks in and makes you laugh. I've seen authors doing that, and I'm like, lost in the story. You know what? This is too dark. I can't take it. I cannot see the light, and then suddenly turns over, and you are laughing, and I love it. I love the comic relief in books. So
Yeah.
and I like to have like a touch of humor in my books, because that's one thing that I really really enjoy.
I absolutely agree. Like bringing that touch of humor in the darkness. It's like dark chocolate, right? It tastes good. It's a little bitter.
I love dark chocolate. It's my favorite,
See?
actually. It's my
Ooh.
favorite.
Now that makes
But
me wonder, what is your favorite comedy relief side character?
oh,
It
that's a
doesn't have
good
to be
one.
from your book. It can be from another book that you love. But if you have one that you like more and something you've written, that whether it be from either genre, but that would be good.
In my case, well, I can tell you that, for example, in my book In Touch of Fate, my main character, she has a pixie guardian. He's very brave and paranoid, and he's like the comic relief because he's like he can. I mean, he takes his job very seriously, but he can be a little bit silly, attacking everyone without a purpose. And he hates pirates because the pirates are the villains, of course, in my story. So he's been quite a riot, and actually my readers love him because he's very loyal. He's very, very loyal, and he doesn't care who's he's facing, but he's kind of funny. But in another genre, Jim Butcher is one of my favorite authors. Actually, I was thinking of
Ooh.
him about that part of the comic relief because he can get as dark as I like. I know there's a lot of darkness out there, but as dark as I like. And he uses comic relief, and he has Harry Dresden, the character, he's actually my favorite character of all times. And he has a skull called
Oh
Bob
yeah,
the Skull, and
I
he
love
can be
Bob.
very funny. Yeah, he can be very funny, but actually, it's both. Either Bob or Dresden is also has his comic side, so I love them.
For me, it's funny. Like the most recent thing I read, or like sort of sticks with me. It's not a character per se, but I recently read Butcher and Blackbird by how's it,
Ooh.
Bryn Weaver. I did the audiobook. Like I tend to do a lot of audiobooks because I'm either working at my day job or working on my books or like being a family man. So when I have time to read, it's usually like in the car or in my headphones walking, doing whatever I'm doing. But Butcher and Blackbird, the male and the female characters have such wonderful banter. Like it's kind of it's dark and funny and hilarious and gross and sexy. Like it has all of the things. Like um yeah, that I highly recommend that audiobook. And then I guess, I mean, it's possible that the Wolfman of Notting Hollow, like the banter between those two characters, was influenced by Butcher and Blackbird. I mean, yeah, it's very different, like scenarios and stuff. But I was like, yeah, I want that
You
kind of.
like
I
this?
want my characters to have that kind of humorous relationship.
Which is
Uh,
one of the things that I love about writing, right? Because you can read something that you say, I want to write something like that. I mean, of course, it's not going to be identical or anything of the sort, but you're inspired. Your
mm-hmm.
writing is inspired, and you make it yours, and you fit it into your story. And I love that because, I mean, we always have like inspiration from everywhere, and having and what I love is when I see either a good movie or just reading a great book, and your brain is like working. Oh, okay, I have to write something like this, and you get inspired, and you take their essence right into your
Mm-hmm.
books.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. A romance book I had saw an ad for, and a kids book had inspired this YA fairy tale I wrote for the upcoming fake horror propaganda book, and it's like two different stories came together in one journey, and I get that so totally. Um, what Okay, I know you both have chosen two different types of publishing journeys. One, you've published with Curse Dragon Ship, and you are doing self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what your favorite parts of both are and some of the harder parts of both are? for you?
I have learned to love most parts of the process. Trying to figure out the best way to market and promote, I think is always going to be difficult. And so like that is challenging, and obviously I'm still working that out, but I love a puzzle. I love figuring something out. I love the feeling that I get when I figure something out and I, win, right? So like figuring out how to format the book so that it looks good in ebook, in print, on Kindle, on, the other devices like that. While frustrating, was also satisfying when I finished it. And so like all the parts of the process, I guess one of my favorite parts is when I use the same cover artist for all of my work in both genres. And so I love that sort of anticipation I get once I submit the contract and I'm waiting for the cover to come back. And then I see the email. I'm like, oh, what does my cover look like? Like I love that I guess I love that moment the best, is like, oh, what's this cover going to look like? I can't wait to share it with my readers.
That feeling is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
In my case, I started, it's an interesting question because it was a couple of years ago that I decided, okay, enough fiddling with my story. It's time to get it published, right? Because it took me a lot of years to get to that point. I was one of those authors who kept working and working in her story and other stories, and you jump, but I hadn't made the jump. So I'd say, okay, enough is enough. So I went to the writing seminar 2 years ago, beautiful writing seminar. And I was thinking, okay, now it's time. What do I do? Because I had to consider what is best for my book. Especially because it might be that one type of genre goes best with self-publishing, or maybe small publishing, or maybe try traditional, right? So it also depends. And I met Kelly, my now editor from Curse Dragon Ship Publishing, in that seminar. And I talked to her and we had such good chemistry. It was like, and she said, hey, send me your manuscript. And I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to go that way. But when she finally read the story, she loved it. We talked about it. It was like, I remember we were in this Zoom meeting and she said, well, if you want to take some days, I don't want to take some days. I want to go with you. I am so incredibly happy. It was like I had my doubts whether, okay, did I did the right thing, whatever. But I love being in a team. I love having someone like her, that she cares about my character, she cares about my story, she cares about me as an author, and she's very committed. She's an excellent publisher, and she is. She has pushed me beyond my comfort zone. For example, when I sent her the second book, Burden of Fate, I was like, okay, this is good. And she said, oh, Ligia, you know what? I love it. You did a better job with the second book than the first. But, and then she just, we started a conversation. Of course, I even did, so this is a 5-stage of editing. When you're first in denial, you're angry, you say, no, I'm not doing this. No way, no. And I was like, I was fuming. I was like, I can't accept this. But then I was reviewing, because of course you don't have to do everything that the editor says. It's a conversation. But as I was reviewing her what the changes that she wanted to see, and saying, okay, this doesn't make any sense, you have to change this. And at some point it dawned on me, oh my God, she's a genius. This is perfect. This is even better than I thought. And I love the result of what I did working with her. So I'm very excited. I trust her. I went to this seminar again just the last month, and we have a lot of conversation regarding the next books. Actually, I was going to do a trilogy, and she noticed me struggling, and she noticed me, being very upset about this third book. And so it was kind of funny, because I was thinking, I can't do only 3 books. This is just too much. So when we heard, and the first time I just saw her, it was the first time that I was seeing her. She was in an Irish pub. She was about to do a presentation for a new book, and we were, everyone from the seminar was there, celebrating the start of the seminar. And I came to her and I said, Kelly, we need to talk. And she'd look at me and say, it's got to be 4 books. Are you a mind reader or what's up? I haven't even tell you, but I mean, she noticed that I was kind of struggling and say, I understood that it was going to be too much. So we talk about it and we discuss it. And I mean, sometimes I am in this Facebook community of indie authors. So there's a lot of people publishing. And sometimes I envy them because they have a lot of control, as CB was saying. So there's a lot of control. You own your universe, you own your things, you know exactly what's happening. And I love that. So that part for me is kind of hard because now I have to rely on someone else. But I do love the teamwork, and I'm really happy that I did this with her, with Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Yeah.
And I love that she only has the best in mind for all of you that are on her team. She wants to see all of you succeed, and she doesn't want it to be her story. She wants to be yours, but the best it can be. And that's one of my favorite things about that woman.
Yeah, exactly. So and I know not every publisher is like that. Sorry, but I think I'm very lucky. I think I'm very lucky being with her. Yeah, and her team.
I'm very lucky with mine as well. I totally get that, and I totally love her and watching her her company. So my next question is, with where you are you happy about your future and what you're writing?
Yes. I don't know now. I mean, I was until Ligia was talking about how wonderful her publisher is. Now I'm like, I want that. Like, being self-published, like it's a lot of fun and you do have a lot of control, but definitely having someone to lean on. And I mean, I do. My partner is my editor. And we're able to do like keep the business, on the business side and stuff like that. But it would be nice to have like that professional. Not that my partner isn't professional. I have to be careful here. It just it sounds very comforting to have like that team behind you. But I'm happy where I am. I think like right now my frustration is time. I have because I want to be a good partner and a good parent and do well at my day job, but I also want this to sustain me so that I don't have to be at my day job forever. And I have 2 horror novels in the drawer, right? They're drafted, they're complete, they're ready for a second draft, for like a read over and a second draft, but I don't have time to take them out of the drawer because I want the romance. And I've got a bunch of half-finished stories. I've got one in beta. I've got another one out. I still need to finish editing the audio for the first one and start recording the audio for the second one as soon as the beta stuff comes back. And that's not like all of the business side of it, the publishing. I still need to do my taxes. It's like, honestly, if I could like lock myself in a room for a month, I could like get everybody.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's a dream,
right?
That's a dream. Yeah. I don't think we're writers. We're like jugglers, right? Because that's the point. I mean, I have my day job. I just got, it's very intense. You have to be committed to that. And that's what pays the bills, after all. So you have your day job. You have your partner responsibilities, pets. I mean, even my pets, they demand attention. They're like, take me out, pet me, feed me. So there's a lot of things you want to do. And even though I'm a small publisher, I do need to also promote myself and social media, talk about my books. And you feel that can be overwhelming. It's like, stop the world, please. Yes. Let's get inside a room and please not bother me. I just want to write and the thing. Sometimes it's like I just want to write, and sometimes from 24 hours, you might only have 1 hour to write, maybe even half an hour. Sometimes not even that, because life can be demanding, and you want to do what you love, which is writing. So when you say about the future, I mean, I was, as I was mentioning, there was many years that I spent writing the book, sharing it with critic partners, and for a long time. So this is kind of new for me, since I've been only about a year in the publishing process. Uh, so I feel like a newbie in that aspect, because there's so many stories that I want to write,
Mhm.
and they just and CB is nodding right now. They just die in your head, because you think about it, you say, oh my god, I would love to, and then, I mean, you forgot to write it down, and then the tide of time just wash it away, right? And it
Yeah.
will be amazing. I would love to have many books out there, 20 books out there. um, but as CB says, time sometimes gets the better of us. So yeah, I am happy, not satisfied, because I want to do more. I would like to, I mean, I would love to just dedicate myself to writing, but I don't see that in my near future. So you have to juggle with everything. And I will be very, very happy if I will have at least 5 books right now out there, which I already have them planned. So I know that's in my future. And I have other books like CB's mentioned. I mean, as a writer, you always have several projects, right? It's hard just to only dedicate oneself, because you want to keep writing and creating worlds and stories, and there's so much material out there. So those I have those books that I say I want to go back, review them, and have them ready to submit or do something, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I agree with both of you.
There was one thing that I wanted to offer, something that you said, Legia, was about having the stories die in your head. And I always think of I I can't remember where it was where I saw Stephen King talking about something like that, and he was like, "Don't was it Stephen King?" Now I'm questioning myself, but that it was a famous author. And anyway, and they were like, "Don't worry about that. Like, let those ideas go, because the ones that stick, the one that you can't get out of your head, that rattles around and keeps coming around and coming back until you write it down, that's the one that's going to make it for you. Like, that's the gold. The other ones like sort of sift out and go away." I heard somebody else say like, "Yeah, I used to keep a journal like by my bed if I woke up and I had a dream or whatever, and then I realized that that's where stories go to die." And I was like,
Oh, wow.
because
I
I
love
feel like
that.
it's true, right? Like, I stopped after I heard that. I stopped doing it because it's true. I have this journal of like, and you read it the next day, you're like, I was so excited about that at 3 a.m, and now
I know, I know. I don't. I mean, I do have the notebook. I also have audio, voice notes, and I have like a Word document with several chapter ones. I say, oh, I have this idea. Well, you write like 2, 3 chapters, maybe one scene, because I don't write sequentially. Sometimes you write the scene that is not the first chapter. Might be the scene in the middle, maybe somewhere, right? So you just write it, and you're excited, and you put it there, and it's there. And I keep saying, and I have an it's not a notebook, it's just a Word document. It says other ideas. Oh, how about, and there they are. And say, oh, maybe one day I'm gonna start. But yeah, you just keep working on those stories that you love the most. But I think that's because we don't have the time to focus on it, because I'm sure if we were to have the time, we will have some of those ideas will start to take root. Because for me, part of the process, it's uh, it's usually an idea that you start chewing in your head, and sometimes, yes, it goes away, but sometimes you just you keep chewing it and chewing it. It gets growing and growing and gets more complex, until one day you say, okay, I gotta get this out, right? Though not always. If I may just mention very quickly, for this Touch of Fate story, for example, it was a bit different. because the two characters wake me up at Sunday at 6 a.m. They were very inconsiderate. Really, I didn't want to go and write it because it was like, Sunday, weekend, please let me sleep. So I waited 1 hour and I went and write her story. And then in 6 days, I finished the story. Not the one that is published, because it was just that, an early draft, but I was very excited about it. So I think that's what CB was talking about. When you have that idea, you can't let go, then you have to write it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I've had nightmares that turned into really good stories, and I get that idea.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Okay. I in and another. I think I've only seen like one interview for UCB anywhere else, and I haven't been able to find more today. But it gave me the question that I actually really wondered about both of you. You both have had to research for your stories before, but what is your favorite thing that you've researched so far that just you go back to?
There is I haven't figured out how to. I don't know what the story is yet. I've tried to write this in a short story. I've tried to write it into parts of a novel. I just love the idea, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. And I'm going to try to be quick because I can get super nerdy on this one. At the same time that the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in like the Cold War and the race for the moon, the space race, they were also doing a race for digging the deepest hole, believe it or not. And the US had Project Mohole. So like they went out onto the ocean to find the thinnest spot in the Earth's crust and had like an ocean drilling platform. And the Soviets had it's not Siberia. I can't think of the name of the peninsula, but it's like
Jakarta?
No. It's over on the Pacific side near Kamchatka.
Oh,
Peninsula?
Kamchatka.
Yeah. On that Kamchatka Peninsula. And so they drilled for like from the late 60s until the early 90s. And they got like 7 miles down. And that is the deepest hole in the history of the world. And then one day they just sort of like, the US stopped like years and years before, and the Soviets kept going and going and going. And they stopped in like 91 or 92 because it was so hot that deep down that the drills wouldn't drill right. The drill would heat up and get stuck and get kind of plastic and wiggly because it was like 400 or 500 degrees down there. And so that they were like, this is with the technology that we have, this is as deep as we can. It was like 7.2 miles. But then there are all these hoaxes. Like if you were to look up the Russian super deep borehole, there'll be like hoax things where it's like the Russians drilled a hole into hell, and there'll be like crazy screaming sound effects on the YouTube video and stuff like that. And it's total hoax, but I'm like, that's cool. I could write a horror story about that, but I haven't yet. But I keep looking at the pictures online, and like, because once they gave up, the area just fell into ruins. The buildings collapsed, and now it's just like a little pipe cap in the ground in a ruined building. But like for 30 years, it was like, yeah, I don't know. I like that.
Interesting.
I like that juxtaposition where it was like they did this amazing achievement. They worked for so many years on it, and then it just fell into ruins, and they capped it off and forgot about it.
That's so interesting. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's the beauty of being a writer and do all this kind of research, that you look facts and say, oh my God, is this true? And you just go deeper and try to find more information about it. And it gives you even more ideas. So it's pretty nice to find things like that gets you excited. And I mean, and also not only in researching, but also in history, when you find a lot of things that had happened, it's such a great resource for writers. I love history fiction. don't read as much as I should, but when I do, and for example, there's this book called The Accursed Kings. Well, it's a series of books from France in the 1200s, when they were cursed allegedly for I forgot the name of this. Well, doesn't matter. The point is that it is so complicated and everything that happened. And there's a preface from G.R.R. Martin say this is the real Game of Thrones, because they were, doing all the fighting, not the fighting, but all the inside politics between France and then with England, and then with the church, and it was so interesting, the things that you find, and you say, well, these people, I mean, they research so much just to be able to shape this novel. Well, this Maurice Drawn, and all this part of the research. But anyway, it feels like you say, I want to take something of this and put it in my novel. Have this that already happened. It's such great research to put it in a fantasy novel or any type of novel, right? It's very, very inspiring.
Absolutely. I yes, I love the history stuff too, for sure.
I mean, the things you can find, right? You find some things like, really? They did that?
Of all the characters that you guys have written so far, whether it's published or not, what is your favorite character that you've written that you would like to hang out with?
Oh. I was going to say, there's this book that this one is already finished, but I am yet to see how it can be published. And she's this 25 woman. She's a little bit bitter and snarky, and she pushes everyone away. I love her. I love writing her, and that story makes me cry every time I read. Even though I wrote it, it makes me cry at the end. But I'm not sure she will be fun to hang around, because she's like, you know what? I don't want you near. Just stay away from this. Just be as far as she always say that I'm going to be the weird girl, in the house where nobody goes. I love her, but hanging around. Okay, that will be Titus. That's the character that I would love to hang around with. He's my actually beeline in Touch Fate, but he's a reluctant anti-hero at the end. And he's one of my readers mentioned that he's a mix of Sparrow with Barbosa, something like that, kind of weird, in personality wise. And I was like, a little bit, not like that, because he can be very grumpy, but I think he's kind of fun to be, but he can brood a lot, but it's a lot of adventures. So I think he's my second best favorite character. So but it will be very dangerous to be around him. It's actually very dangerous. So everybody will want to kill you. So I'm not sure if I want to hang around all the time with him,
That sounds awesome. What about you, CB?
Oh, that's so hard. I was like, I don't know. There are, if I had to choose, I would choose. I can't. I got to pick two. The first one is the one that I'm writing the SEXD files with my writing partner. He is a federal agent, and he investigates like ghosts that like manifest in a very spicy, steamy way. And he believes, because it's happened to him, like the story that's, I can't do that. All right.
Sort of like the scene from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, something like that. Like I wrote what I was going to do for this book that I'm writing with my writing partner is like, I'm going to write a prequel, and we can release it early and build up some support for the series. And I sent the story to her, and she's like, that's too much. Like, we're writing romance. That's sort of beyond romance a little bit, like back it down. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll write another one then. And I'm going to use this one. So that's the one that I'm really so like, no, this is too good. I'll change the names and release it. And we'll do a different Lost Leader for that series. But anyway, Special Agent Julian Worthy knows that the ghost spicy stuff is real. Like, it's happened to him, and he's trying to convince this woman who will be his partner, and he's just he's sweet and he's smart and he's kind of dopey a little bit. Like, he has this hair that keeps falling in his eyes, and like that, like this, like the comedy that you said, right? Like if it gets too serious, like then his hair just falls in his eyes, and he has like
I love that. I love,
to like break up those moments if it gets like too whatever. But I think he would be a lot of fun to hang around with. And the other one is a character named Darwin, who my partner's like, you have to finish the Darwin story. You have to finish the Darwin story. And Darwin, I have written probably 60,000. I'll write 20,000 words. I'll get 20,000 words into the book, and I'll be like, no, that's not his story. And I'll start again, and I get 20,000 words in. I'm like, no, that's not his story either. And so it's like after the third one, I'm like, you are going in a drawer until you can come out and tell me what your story is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I know the beginning of his story is that he gets, he loves space. So this is taking place in the 70s or like late 70s, early 80s. And he loves space and the Apollo program. And he reads all the space books, and he has the pictures and watches the movies. And he even reads the transcripts of the Apollo missions, like the transcripts of the astronauts talking. And he gets hit by a car. And when he wakes up, he hears the voice of mission control in his head. So like he's talking to the people from Houston, like in his head, and they sort of help him through whatever his story turns out to be. He's going to have mission control in his head, helping him navigate through it.
Houston, we have a problem.
Exactly that.
In every situation.
And like, I'm like, I want to hang out with him. Like, I think that would be fun. Like, but I don't know what his story is yet. That is like the next. Yeah, I'll say that's the next thing I'm going to write, but like, who knows?
What book or series is the one that like opened up your eyes and made you want to tell your stories?
There's a lot of books. That's a lot of books that say, I can't tell you one. I mean, I know the Dresden Files inspire me. Sometimes I was just starting to write Touch of Fate when I was in the Dresden Files, deep into it. So there are a couple of things that it influenced so much. Don't tell Kelly I said this, but I kept telling that if Jane Austen were to write the Dresden Files, it will be Touch of Fate. That she says, no, it's not the Dresden Files, and I know it's not. I know it's not, but it was like this vibe, some feeling that I got. But I when I was reading the Dresden Files, I said, okay, I love the Butcher, I love the Dresden Files, but sometimes it's too many plots at the same time. And I love it, but sometimes I wanted something simpler with a little more romance, and that's, again, I guess that's how Touch of Fate was born.
Okay, cool.
I have a similar story. I think that it's a book that like you love, but it doesn't meet the expectations that you set out for it. For me, it was I just lost my The Dark Tower. It was Stephen King's The Dark Tower. I loved like the horror sort of supernatural Old West, but like not really of this world kind of element of The Dark Tower. And that's what I wanted. I wanted more of that. And so as he progressed through the series and he went into the modern world and like things like just took a sharp turn away from that sort of horror Western thing, I was like, oh, like, that's not why I'm here, Steven. Like,
You should write
and
a letter to
That
him.
idea.
I know, right? So like, and I never ended up actually like writing the book that I wanted from that, but that was the thing that made me go, I want to write books. Like I want to write the story that I want to read. And there was another one too, but again, this is one of those ones where I don't want to mention, where I read an apocalypse book that I did not like. And I was like, all right, I'm going to write my version of this that we're going to, because it was the characters were one dimensional. The people of color were portrayed in a very backward way. And I was just like, oh, we can do better than this. So I set out to do better than that. I don't know if I succeeded, but that's what I set out to do.
And I think also just a little bit, adding a little bit more, thinking about it, it's like I read a lot of fantasy books, but which I loved, but I keep telling myself I need more romance. But then I will read some of the fantasy romance books that were too to focus on the romance and the sex, and I was like, okay, but I need a little bit more fantasy, a little bit more plot. So that's why one of the reasons also what made me write how I write, because I wanted to blend both. Uh, as Stevie says, I'm not sure if I succeed, because at the end, it is a fantasy romance, but I did want to write the book that I wanted to read. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right, CB?
Yes. Right. Write the book that you want to read. And that's the guide.
Exactly.
Yours is
Exactly.
so close to the Nyrus series in how much fantasy and romance that is mixed in. And it's just enough to make me like, okay, this is mine for the rest of eternity. Nobody can have my books now. But that sort of thing. And I found CB because I love horror. And then he started showing up on my feed with horror books. And I'm like, ooh, I have got to see what he likes to write. And then he did this wonderful, amazing gift for me that not everybody can see how it's a gift, but he read one of his stories on our show, the Owlite Society. And I'm like, oh, I get to hear how he would read it. That is like amazing. So yeah, that I'm so grateful that I've got to dive in with both of y'all's works, whether it be the romance or the horror side. So thank you guys for that.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Now, where is your favorite place to write? The most comfy place that you have found?
I am in, you can't see it because this is very like this. I do my social media filming and stuff like here. So I live in a townhouse that has it's not a big house, but it has a almost uselessly large master bedroom. Like I'm sorry, we don't say master bedroom. We say the main bedroom. The main bedroom is uselessly large. Like the king size bed and bookcases and dressers and side tables and all this stuff. And then there was still room for an entire, now the whole rest of the house is squished into a corner. But I was like, my daughter has a bedroom over there. There's the bathroom, the living room. There's nowhere for me. So like we carved out a corner of the bedroom. I have my desk here. And then I put like posts up, and I have like right over there, there's like a mural that's just like tacked to some posts. So it's like this cozy little corner in here that like I have my computer and my lights and my desk, and that's it. Like, you know, the mural's right at the end of my fingers, and here's the wall. But it's like it's very sort of cozy in here and secluded, and that's where I like to write. That's my best spot.
But it's your corner, right?
It is my corner.
Yeah, that's nice. In my case, it's kind of a wound. I wouldn't. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, because I have my two kids here, and my husband, and my pets. My pets. I love my pets. Um, but the problem is, since the pandemic, I work from home,
Mhm.
and I am the only one in the house that I work from home, thankfully. But I am the only one who doesn't have like a place, because right now I in my master bedroom, but
Mhm.
I mean it has a good space, but it doesn't have a space for an office. So I had to put myself in a corner of the living room, with my desk to work. But I don't want to mentally right in the same place that I work. So I need to move. Unfortunately, my move it's in the dining room, basically. So that's what I write. So it's not my fair, because my the first floor is kind of open. So if somebody's playing Xbox or playing
Mhm.
music, it's just like too noisy, and I always hear it. I mean, I bought my earphones, but when I use them, it isolates so much, and I don't think passes 10 minutes when somebody's mom or Ligia or meow, you know. So they always demand attention. So sometimes I can't have those earphones for more than a little while, because it just exasperates me, and I just put it there. So I don't have like a favorite, and this is like my, I wish that sometime I have an office for myself, and I have this place where I can write, that I can have. Oh my God, this is just silence, or my music, or just me. But for the time being, it's in the living room.
Totally understand that. That is why I'm in a closet. It's the only place I can go and shut the door. So yeah, and we've already been invaded by a small one. That's why I've turned off my mic and my camera a couple of times. We were being invaded.
it happens.
Yes, it happens. It happens, and they still get noisy for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't keep quiet. Let me tell you.
They don't. They haven't exactly
Oh,
been fully quiet. Dill says she has her corner too. It's a pretty corner. I love her tapestries. It's a nice, cozy spot. And Hanada joins us during the podcast. She's one of my podcast partners.
oh, nice. Actually, kind of fun, because at this moment I'm sitting in a chair that is not really my chair. I bought it to read, to have my corner
Mhm.
in my bedroom to read, but my cat is loves it, so she's always there. And sometimes I come like, oh my God, you're there. What I'm going to do? So I have to sit in this chair that I like, the old chair that I had to buy this chair because this one is comfy and the other not. It's like, why don't you sit in the other chair? I'm like, no, she has to sit in this chair. So my kids say, it's not your chair anymore, Mom. That's her chair.
I've made mine a special bed, but he still thinks my bed is where he should sleep at night. So, yeah, in my favorite place to write and read, he has to be right there with me.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, you just stand up and like, hey, I was there. That's not fair. Get out of there.
Exactly. One more question, and then we're about to hit our usual hour. What is your favorite thing to drink? Coffee or tea or something else?
You go first, Legia. I've
Yeah.
go first every time.
I'm going to be very geeky. I don't know. My favorite thing to drink is actually plain water. I love drinking a lot of water. Always, that's the first thing. I mean, my it's not. I mean, if I go to a restaurant, besides water, I will. I love. There's this beverage called naranjada here in Mexico. It's
Hmm.
basically spring water with orange juice and a little bit of sugar, and it's so
Ooh,
refreshing. And I love it when it's fresh orange juice or lemonade as well. So, but yes, plain water. I, 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 I don't know. For some reason, I'm always thirsty, and I always have my glass of water, and it just makes me happy.
that rocks. Emotional water cup.
There you go. There you go.
I had to
What
give
about you,
I
Libby?
I I have given up everything for one reason or another.
Uh-huh.
I still, on the weekends, I still treat myself to a cup of coffee in the morning when I sit down to write. I tend to go to bed early and get up very early while the house is quiet so I can have that time to write while if the animals and the people are all still sleeping. So like my weekend coffee I look forward to. But like yeah, I have my big water bottle. I just
I have it right here. Oh, it's actually kind of fun because it's a
Oh,
Stitch. Yeah.
oh, it's a
ooh, we
Stitch
love
one.
the
Mine has
Stitch.
all stickers from like different stickers from my books and my publishing company
Oh,
and all
that's
that stuff.
nice.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty. I love Stitch. I don't know, for some reason I just love him.
Mine has my Del Crow because I love my crow. She's amazing. And it's a witch's brew cup that I
oh,
found at a
Oh,
local grocery store during Halloween. And I'm like, that is nice. I want that. So
love
I
it.
either have water or ice herbal tea in mine. So yeah, I totally get the emotional water cup.
There you go.
Okay, let's start down here. Oh, that is not what I want to do. I want to hit this button. Where do you want us to find you, Ligia?
Okay, you can find me at ligiadewit.com. There's my website, and you can see all my social media, but I'm also on Facebook, uh, Ligia DeWitt Author, and Instagram. I do seldom TikTok because, but yeah, and mostly there. And if you sign for my newsletter, I have two short stories in the Touch of Fate universe. One is Awaken, which is basically my beeline. This is the first time that he's created with black magic, and he doesn't know what to do. So he actually he is he's a murderer. So he learns to murder. So that's pretty interesting. And then you have the counterpart, which is my FMC. She's young and naive. She has her pixie guardian, and I show her struggle in this short story about her first day at work with a pixie guardian and nobody can see but her. And so I love the relationship between both. So if you sign to my newsletter, you get both stories for free, and you can unsubscribe anytime. We won't hunt you down. I promise you.
What about you?
um, you can find my work at freakyromance.com. I chose that because I'm like, I was going to do cbchelia.com and I'm like, nobody's going to know how to spell that. So I did freakyromance.com. And like I have a free story for you if you sign up for my newsletter. It's the Wolfman of Notting Hollow. It's an monster romance, and it's gotten some really positive feedback. It's it's dark because it's a wolf man, but I think that like it actually turns out to be very sweet. The wolf man has sort of golden retriever energy. But that's where you can find me, and I would love it if folks signed up for the newsletter because I'm do deals all the time every month. There's some kind of free book there. In fact, I was going to say, Ligia, we should do a newsletter swap so that I can feature your freebie to sign up for the newsletter, and you can
I
feature
love it.
and then
I love it.
the people can get another free book.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you want to say more? Feel free.
no. I just want to say that I'm in.
All
You're
right.
in. Okay, cool. I'm here at Owlite Network, and I'm also on Friday with the library in the Blue Box. And my readers group is Friday's Disorganized Library. I work with Faycor. I'm published at Faycor, so please come find all of us and read our stuff. I want you to see how amazing their stuff is. Please check them out. And please don't take my yawning randomly throughout the show as that they're boring, because these people are never boring. I've loved everything I've watched of their videos and interviews. I am loving the stuff I'm reading, and I want you guys to check them out too. Have an amazing night, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you very much. Thank you for having us.
And if you
Appreciate
guys
it.
hold on a second, I have one more thing to say after it ends.